There's always an exception to the rule. And today we're going to learn how exceptions work in C++. So stand by. This video is about to start.
This is the Savage Scientist Ed right here, and I'm writing code in a police car.
What's up, folks? This is the Savage Scientist Ed, and today we're going to talk about exceptions. So we could look at an exception as a way of creating a customized error for the compiler to catch. In a C++ language, we could create exceptions that's going to handle cases like dividing by zero, or if the range of a variable is outside of the scope that we declare. So here are the timestamps for this video. While you're looking at that, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and do all that other stuff on YouTube. So it's time for us to start learning exceptions in C++. All right, start DevC++ and go to File, New Project, and Console Application. And we're going to name our console application Day 17 because this is our 17th day C++ program. And then we're going to open up, we're going to save our project in our Day 17 folder, hit save, and there it is. Now, first thing I'm going to do is add our user namespace std line. This is the order of our topics today. We're going to use our try keyword, and we're going to use the throw keyword, and I need to learn how to spell catch keyword, and we're going to play with debugging using print statements. Let's get rid of this. Are you ready to get into our coding? I am, so let's start. We're going to just move our brackets down so it can match the style that I've always been using block style. So line 10 and line 13 indicates our block, our code block. So let's create an integer, and we're going to name it X, and our try statement, or our try block. So we're going to try if X is greater than 10, we're going to have a successful program here. That means that's what we want. And with exceptions, we are really working on catching errors in our code or programming logic that the compiler will not catch. On line 16, let's start our throw statement. So the word invalid value is actually a constant character array. In this video, I'm probably going to keep calling it string constant, but string constant is actually a character array. Depending on our throw statement, will determine what our catch statement is going to look like. So we could have thrown an integer or a Boolean value. So like I said earlier, starting on line 12, we're about to start our exception handling with our try statement, just meaning that this is the beginning of the exception handling process. So line 14, if our X value is greater than 10, we're going to throw the exception saying invalid value, which is a constant array. So another way of looking at this is the name of the function is throw. The argument for the function is invalid value. So throw just means we got to pass it to the exception handling procedure. So if X just happened to be less than 10, we're going to continue executing, and we're about to proceed with this else statement. And here we will just print successful. And we're going to print the value of X here, X. And our inline. So we have our if else. So now it's time for the magic to happen with our catch statement. And we're gonna print out our constant character. So this is like a loop that listens all the time for anything that passes through on our throw statements. Constant character. So down here on line 23, error is the value that is thrown from my exception, and it has to be a constant character array. So on line 23, we could look at the catch statement as a general function that's going to take all the thrown exception messages, like the one on line 16 where it says invalid value, that is going to get processed on line 23. If we have a invalid value where x is greater than 10, that's an exception to the rule, right? So we're going to just deal with that right here in our catch statement. So our catch statement here. So now let's assign x a value that's greater than 10, like 99. Let's hit F11. So now we have an invalid value. So our our error message is invalid value, and that is thrown because x is the value 99 is greater than 10. So let's see what happens whenever we just put 9 here. So we have a successful value because 9 is less than 10. That's all our exception does. And the reason why we're using these print statements is so we could see exactly what our exceptions are doing. And now it's time to continue with another example. So we're about to check for null values. So first thing we're going to do is we about to create another integer value called y. And we're going to set y to 0. And as you know from our previous videos, 0 and null are the same thing. But in C++, it's always good practice to set variables to 0. So let's continue working on that. And let's change our if statement on line 15 to say if y equals 0, we're going to show invalid value. Let's compile and run our program. And we have an invalid value being printed. And that's true for a function because if you divide by 0, it's going to be undefined. So that is exactly the behavior we want when we divide in two numbers. And the example would be, let's say we have 8 divided by 0. The answer would be undefined. So that's the basic idea of what we just did. And if you try this with the compiler without catching this error, the program is going to try to run, but it's not going to give us the results we're looking for, and we're going to have an exception. So now let's play with this example, and I'm about to show you what the compiler is going to do if we try to divide by 0. So we're going to create this new variable called result. And we're about to divide x by y. And let's compile it. This is the solution we got. Nothing. It didn't print anything. And that is definitely undesired results. So if we comment out this line, everything is going to work the way it's supposed to because we're about to catch the reason behind we're about to catch the logic behind why the program stopped running. But let's see what's going to happen when we create a constant. A constant is just a value that we know will never change. So 9 divided by 0. So when we use 9 divided by 0, we got the same nothing in our program, but check out what the compiler did. It produced a warning, division by 0, or you can't divide by 0. Our warning is on line 13. In DevC++, when we highlight the exception or error, it's going to bring us to the line and show us where the error is located or exception. And it's with this 0. This makes it so the compiler is going to throw an error that's going to crash our program. That's why it's important to be aware of exceptions and use our print statements to help with debugging our code ourselves. I have one more example that's going to blow your head off. So watch what's going to happen when I set X to undefined. And remember, this should be a null value. This should be 0, right? So on line 16, we're going to change our Y to X and use our comparison operator to see if it's 0. And on line 13, we're going to comment out this line because this line crashed our program by throwing the exception divided by 0 with this constant 9 divided by 0. So check this out. Using this compiler, it said X is 55, but X isn't even defined right here. So let's put a print statement here that's just going to show what our values are. X equals print X and Y equals, and we're about to print Y. In line statement. And now, let's see what happens. So here's the result. X is 55 when it's undeclared. That is a big error, and it's not our program fault. The compiler didn't catch it, but using print statements, we're able to find something is definitely wrong with our program. So this is where you would start using the second compiler. So I went to W3 Schools and put the same code in just by copying it, Control A, Control C. We just selected all our code and copied it. And next thing we're going to do is open Google. We're about to look for W3 Schools and type in C++. There it is, C++ tutorial. There's an online C++ compiler, so you can go to any of these examples where it says try it for yourself. Next, we're going to take the code that we just copied and pasted from DevC++, and we're going to paste it right here into this example on W3 Schools. And we're going to compile it using their system. So this is what it's supposed to be. When we have a value that's not declared, it should be 0, not 55. And Y should be 0 because we set it to 0. So this is exactly what DevC++ was saying. So we're going to switch and start using Visual Studio in the future. So this is the Savage Scientist Ed, Governor of the State of Swampland. And I just want you to know, sometimes when something is cheap or free, you have to look to make sure it's able to do what it's supposed to. And this is the type of debugging you have to know how to do. And when everyone else is using DevC++ on the job, you tell them, hey, let's try this in another compiler, and find out that nothing is wrong with the code. It's just the compiler that they were using. Now you the hero in the building, and when it's time to get a raise, now you just hit 6 figures. So this is the end of day 17. Day 18, prepare yourself for more C++ programming, where we look at the STL. So till I make my next video, this is the Savage Scientist Ed. Peace out.